Hey, it's Goody Drew. I know I haven't posted in a while. I didn't really know what to post, and I actually felt a little insecure to post. Both of my cats here, by the way. Oh yeah, I don't just have one, I have two, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, I want to talk about the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake beef, and I feel like I love that. It's honestly, in my opinion, to me, it's like a story. And if it, like, even though it's a beef, to me, it's a story. And if I do count it as a story, I'd say it's probably one of the best story battles ever. Like, unironically, like, as a story, too. And I feel like everyone, in my opinion, everyone, or however I could say it, from how I look at it, I don't think most people get the point. I think almost everyone doesn't really get the point of what Kendrick was trying to say or the whole point of the beef. I feel like some people are like or many people actually. I see many YouTube videos about it and honestly it's starting to piss me off. I mean, like there's a few channels that I feel like actually are very smart and actually do get the point. A really good example, What's the Dirt? I think that channel is brilliant. I've been watching that guy for hours, and he does a lot of research. Actually, I respect him a lot for like the way he puts into like the research into his videos. I'm pretty sure he gets the point, and I think that he's definitely one of them on my list. But I think there's like almost every other video I've seen about the beef. I don't think anyone gets it. I don't think people understand the point. I think like everyone's exaggerating. Yeah, in my opinion, I think this is a pretty hype like hip hop beef. I don't know all of the hip hop beefs, so I'm not one to say this is the best of all time or one of the best since I don't really know much about it. I love hip hop, I just don't know much about the history and the beefs. But I feel like even so, this was definitely a very like hype hip hop battle. I think it was really hype. I would say one of the hypest, but again, who am I to judge? I don't know the others either. But like still, I feel like even if it is, I feel like people exaggerate it and they don't really get why. I don't think they get the points of each song. I don't I it pisses me off. And I don't know. I feel like I guess as a hip hop nerd, I'm not really that much of a hip hop nerd. I'm kind of a basic hip hop fan, kind of. Maybe not even fan. I don't want to like sound like a like cringe nerd trying to use a meme to sound alpha, but I feel like I'm more of a hip hop enjoyer, you know, like the meme, like like fan versus enjoyer. I actually like that term, but you know what, it don't matter because like I don't know. I'm not. I feel like it's the same thing, you know. That's a video for another day about like fan versus enjoyer. I think that's a real thing, you know. Some people that are actually like fans, they're diehard, they go deep into the iceberg versus enjoyer. Actually, you know what? I'm a hip hop fan. I take that back. I feel like I am actually all deep in the asshole of hip hop. Fuck that. But whatever. I'm not like a deep hip hop fan or whatever. Don't matter what I call myself. Doesn't matter what my label is. But nonetheless, I want to give my opinion on it because I feel like most people just don't really get it, you know. So I don't know. Let me just recap the beef real quick since I know like most people we know how it goes, right? So, Itsy Bitsy Drake and J. Cole. Actually, no, let's start like this. Once upon a time, the four nations lived in peace. I mean, three nations. We have J. Cole, Drake, and then we had Kendrick. But then Drake and J. Cole dissed Kendrick about like the big three or whatever the fuck. And then Kendrick got pissed off. It's like, fuck the big three. It's just big me or whatever, you know? And then, like, I guess, like, Drake gets mad, and then Kendrick says Drake grooms kids, and then Drake says that Kendrick's a wife beater, and then Drake loses the beef. I think we all know about that. We know, like, you know, how, like, Kendrick released Meet the Grams, like, 20-30 minutes after Drake releases Family Matters. We all know that Kendrick's, like, a pretty die-hard hater, etc., etc. But, again, I feel like everyone doesn't get the point, because there's just so much things that happened. So, when this beef was happening, actually, I wasn't interested. I was a bit of a fan of, like, all of the three, but not that much. I was more of a Kanye fan at the time. But when it happened, I wasn't interested because, from my understanding, it was hip-hop beef. I liked hip-hop, but I didn't like hip-hop beef unless if I felt like it had a meaning. And I don't know much about hip-hop beef, but, like, some of them that I felt like had meanings were, like, I actually respected it. It was, like, I guess, like, Eminem versus Ja Rule or Benzino or whatever, you know? I feel like I was more on Eminem's side because he's not there for the sake of the beef. He's there to, like, calm things down. And in a way, I guess Eminem was a little savage, actually. The entire time, he kind of did go on it. But, like, still, nonetheless, I don't know. Those are just my opinions on many beefs. And I feel like usually when it's like that, like, I'm not interested. And from what I heard, it didn't sound like anything that needed to, like, cause a beef. All it heard was is just that three dudes were, like, trying to go for the top. And I'm like, okay, competition. But they're making a beef out of it. And I feel like I like to separate competition from beef, you know? So if someone's gonna make beef out of competition, I like to think of that as toxic, especially in a rap, like, I guess, type of way. But again, I'm not a part of the rap culture, so I don't really know how it works. That's probably a part of how it works. But I was even a hip-hop fan back then, so I just wasn't interested, because from my understanding, it just felt like beef, where they're just there because they're competitive, and it causes beef, or whatever. So when J. Cole apologized, actually, I remember, I'm going to be honest, I thought J. Cole, I actually had a feeling that J. Cole, like, knew something. Like, I'm not here to brag. I feel like most people are just going to, like, say, like, I knew it, I bet it, like, if they did, and, you know, I'm being 100% honest, I did. And, like, I was, like, I don't really know. I didn't know what other people thought at the time, but when I heard J. Cole apologize, I was like, okay, I don't know much about hip-hop, but I feel like J. Cole, because I did know a bit about J. Cole. I was like, okay, J. Cole probably knows something. He probably knows that, something ahead. I didn't assume that he's apologizing for the sake of, like, I guess, you know, to let it be, because obviously, you know, that's not how it works in hip-hop. And I know J. Cole as the this wise stereotypical type, right? He knows things about how things work. This is hip-hop. It's a game. And sometimes there's things that you can't cross in hip-hop. And if there's anyone that knows the lines, all of the invisible rules that you can't cross in hip-hop, it's J. Cole. Which is why I feel like it's logical to assume that J. Cole knew what he was doing. And even if he didn't, I feel like it was still kind of the right decision. Maybe, like, because, like, nonetheless, it's, like, causing beef. From my understanding, even if I didn't understand it, I was thinking it's causing beef from competition. This is from the context that we all had at the time, back in March, when everything was innocent. So, you know what I mean, right? Like, I thought, okay, you know what? I actually kind of gave props to J. Cole, because even if it was weak for, like, doing hip-hop stuff, I feel like there was, like, two reasons. Something was, like, you know, maybe there's, like, lines that he couldn't cross, maybe legal things or whatever the fuck, or, like, you know, he realized that he had to stop. And I guess, like, the reason he had to stop could have varied, which is why I assumed that he was making a good decision. I just didn't know what. You know what I mean? I don't know. I didn't really say it back then, but that was just my opinion. I actually originally was on Drake's side because I heard Kendrick dissing Drake, and I thought, okay, Kendrick, like, leave the man alone. I mean, I didn't really know much about Drake. I did hate Drake, but, like, I was thinking, okay, because from my understanding, it didn't seem like Kendrick had the right to diss Drake. That was when everything was innocent. Then I was really late, and I only heard about the actual context once Not Like Us dropped. Like, 3 days after it dropped, I heard the entire context, which is very sad, because I missed on the entire beef up until then. And I'm like, okay, well, I wish I was there. And, I don't know. When I see videos describing the whole J. Cole situation, I feel like, I don't know. I guess, yeah, J. Cole predicted it, but I feel like he didn't predict. I don't think it was him in a way. I feel like when you see videos, people are like, oh, we all thought J. Cole was bad, but everyone and their mama knew that J. Cole was a fucking idiot for doing what he did. And like, I don't really know how to say it. I feel like people definitely misunderstand the J. Cole situation, because I feel like people like to see it, and I guess I explained it like this too, but I'm not trying to say it like this, because I don't think he predicted shit. I think he learned shit. I think if there's anything, he just realized it just wasn't his place and it wasn't his beef. I think he made the right decision, surprisingly, because like I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I didn't know much about it, but I thought, like, nonetheless, he probably had a reason to come to that decision. But because he came to that decision, it had to be a good one. This is J. Cole after all. Plus, you know, like, from my understanding, it makes sense that it would be a good decision, especially when it's a competitive beef, and especially since, like, it seemed more, I guess we see later on, to be between Drake and Kendrick. You know what I mean? J. Cole just doesn't feel like the type of guy to beef with these guys. I don't know. This is from my understanding and my context, and I feel like some people just, I don't know. It pisses me off. I see some videos where I feel like people just don't get the point. And I probably don't get the whole point either. This is my opinion of what the point is. And I don't fucking know, man. So, like, when I hear others talking about, like, oh, this guy saw the future. We all doubted him. And, like, we all, whatever the fuck. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. But they do it in a way where it's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's stupid. Because I feel like they said that it was so obvious that he was, like, that he was making the wrong decision, but he dodged the nuke. And I don't think he saw what was coming. I don't think that's why he apologized. This is like one of my main points about J. Cole. I feel like people think he apologized because he knew that Kendrick was going to do say all the stuff about Drake. I don't think that's it. I do think that like he did see things, but I don't think that's what he's seeing. I think what he realized is that it wasn't his place. This again is my opinion, and like you're probably like, "Good, what the fuck? It's hip hop. Like, who are you to say that?" And you know what? Yeah, sure, but like I don't really know. I don't know how to explain it. It just kind of felt like it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel right to beef with Kendrick Lamar over something that was like competitive. From the context we had at the time, it was competitive, even though it's rap and stuff like that. Rap competitiveness, and from what I know, rap, like when they diss and shit, that can actually get serious. And J. Cole, I think, is a wise person. So especially when it starts out from something like that, and especially when it can get really heated up, especially when you can tell that Kendrick is already getting a little heated up from the competitiveness, I feel like it's a good idea to lay back. And you especially can tell that, I don't know, in a way, I feel like it just wasn't his place to go shoot back at it. And I don't know. I know that's kind of how rap works, but like I feel like it's different. I feel like you can be competitive with rappers, but I feel like when there's beef, that's a completely different thing between competitiveness and actually dissing each other back and forth. Because I feel like when there's beef, there has to be a reason. And from my understanding, there was no reason other than being competitive. And you know what? I think I was right from J. Cole's point of view. I don't think J. Cole dodged the bullet. I don't think if J. Cole kept going, he'd start getting dissed by Kendrick, but like the way Drake was. I don't think that's what would happen. I think if J. Cole kept going, actually, I don't think he would. You know what my theory is? I think Kendrick, like maybe someone on his team or whatever the fuck, I feel like in a way, Kendrick kind of got J. Cole, maybe sneaked, like gave him a hint or whatever to realize to stay out. This is my guess, my theory, my opinion, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Because from my understanding, like, I feel like he dissed Drake because of these bad things. He told us the reasons why. And you know what? Maybe there are reasons for J. Cole, but again, it's like, it feels like with J. Cole, it's more competitiveness. Haven't you also noticed that once J. Cole apologized, like, it also like stopped like everything. So like for like Kendrick, like he was more like soft with J. Cole afterwards. He completely accepted it, which is why I think there's a difference. I feel like he would have actually said that there'd be things about J. Cole that he's gonna say too. Have you noticed that in like that, everything he hints at, like, are things that are about Drake, but mostly when it comes to J. Cole, it's about the past. But the things he hints about Drake are things that's about to come. He doesn't hint about what's about to come with J. Cole, because I feel like J. Cole was there, and maybe Kendrick just didn't know why J. Cole was there either. Kendrick Lamar is a competitive rapper. We all know that. He's not someone you fuck with. So it makes sense from my opinion, you know? I feel like that's the thing. Kendrick Lamar never hinted saying that J. Cole's lying about, like, if J. Cole get any closer, I'm going to start destroying you. He didn't really say that. Or, you know what, I guess in a way he did. But I feel like he didn't say it in a way where he's going to start exposing him. You know what I mean? I think that's the thing. And that's my opinion. Maybe Kendrick Lamar is just more competitive, but he's using the exposure for Drake just to be more expressive on, I guess, the competitiveness. But I feel like that's something that nonetheless, people still misunderstand, because I don't think it's like J. Cole just dodged a bullet. I feel like it just wasn't J. Cole's place, and I think it was like just a decision that he had to make nonetheless. And I think he was smart enough and not dumb enough like Drake to make that decision. And I think Kendrick Lamar figured that out too. This is my opinion. I don't think J. Cole would get dissed as badly as Drake, because I feel like with Drake it's much more obvious for the things, and for a long time people have had things to say about Drake that I feel like it's been very obvious the same thing will happen with, you know, Kendrick and Drake. But I don't see anything like that with the past between Kendrick and J. Cole except for competitiveness. You see where I'm coming from? Whereas with Drake and Kendrick, it seems like there's actually different things and more things that Kendrick wants to hit about, but Kendrick isn't actually showing anything that he has to expose about J. Cole, not that we know of, which is why I feel like even if J. Cole continued to not apologize, it wouldn't get as bad as we got with Drake. That's my first part of the TED Talk, which is funny because that's 15 minutes of just the J. Cole section. Give me a minute, let me drink my Nessie. I'm gonna get diabetes, I'm so addicted with the... There's something wrong with me. Fuck. I don't know. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, okay, so, fuck. So, like, the second part. Everyone's saying that Kendrick's the biggest hater, and you know what? I get that. And actually, I thought the same thing, too. But now, I think this is what's starting to make me, like, realize more, and I think this pisses me off. I feel like people think Kendrick is the ultimate hater, like the ultimate generational hater. He's been hating on Drake ever since the very fucking beginnings. It's like memed. You know, I'm seeing videos that are acting like documentaries. Kendrick Lamar, the guy that always hated Drake, or documentary on Kendrick Lamar, the best of the generational haters, or the biggest hater of all time, Kendrick Lamar. They act like it's a documentary. Of course they're not documentaries, because lots of YouTube videos act like they're documentaries, but they're obviously not, because they literally talk opinionated. They're like, Kendrick Lamar is definitely the biggest hater. Like, have you seen this shit? And then they talk about, like, whatever. They do it in the format of a documentary, but it's so funny because then they also are so opinionated and they just swear a lot, and it's obviously just for teenagers, you know? And, I mean, I'm on the talk, I'm a teenager too, but I just feel like people just believe that shit. I don't know, dude. I don't think those guys get the point. It kind of pisses me off, because I don't think the point was to hate on Kendrick. I don't get it. What's this whole idea of Kendrick being the biggest fucking hater? I mean, yes, he's the biggest hater if he could be the biggest hater. That's literally the point on Euphoria, dude. He says, I'm the biggest hater, but he also clarifies that he'd do that, especially on only when Drake would keep taking shots at him. He's not the biggest hater. He's not here to fucking destroy Drake. He's here to freaking neutralize him. Neutralize his superpowers, just like the first line in Euphoria. Them superpowers get neutralized. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's... I don't know if that was the right term, though, but... neutralize superpowers, but whatever. That's what he's, like, there to do. He's, like, there to, like, kind of make it so, like, he can't go further because he knows the things about the industry, especially with Drake, that's fucked up. Which is why I feel like he probably knew, also, maybe didn't know back then, that it wasn't J. Cole's place to be in the beef. And maybe it was. Maybe in the future it was. We don't know. A lot of this stuff I feel like is more industry related and things that they know personally than the stuff that we know. And I feel like when it comes to these videos that act like documentaries, they act like they know everything, but only when most of these things that they act as facts are just things that we assume, or I guess make theories out of because of what we see. Which is why I feel like, you know, I was even annoyed. When the J. Cole apology came out, people would make video documentaries about how it got to J. Cole's, like, apology and how everyone hates him and why it's a fact or whatever. And you know what? I guess, like, it makes sense, but, like, they act like it's a fact, but it's opinionated. I made a whole video about this, I think, about, like, what's right and wrong. I feel like people don't fucking get it, and that's what pisses me off when I feel like everyone, like, acts like one thing. It's like, I don't know, dude. I know no one is completely, infinitely open-minded. Not even me. I'm definitely not that guy. Because there's, like, an infinite amount of openness you can be. You can open that asshole to extend to the entire universe, man. Like, it's crazy. But I feel like, I don't know, it pisses me off because it's like, it gets this influence that gives the wrong points, and I feel like this is also the reason why we are getting influencers that are actually much more toxic. They're like parodies of older influencers, but worse. Haven't you noticed that? The influencers back then would act toxic, but more as a joke, where influencers now are like them, but they actually don't do it as a joke. They take it seriously. I like to call that false influence. I feel like as time goes on, people focus on the fun things, which could also be bad, which takes away from everything else. They focus on what they want to focus, and you know what? Everyone does that, including me. I'm getting a little off topic, but let me get back on topic. Kendrick is a big hater, obviously. But is he like, oh my god, stop treating him like he's a fucking supervillain. Stop treating him like he's Frieza and it's his whole mission goal to destroy Drake. And you know what, I get it, but I don't understand why people are treating it like it's a goddamn fact. It pisses me off. And they act like it's like I don't know, man, okay? Now I'm gonna give my opinion on what I think actually is going on. I don't think Kendrick hates Drake. I think Kendrick hates Drake the person. I don't think Kendrick wants to destroy Drake. I feel like Kendrick, I mean, maybe destroy, but not destroy. He kind of wants to make it come to light. I feel like to me, it's even obvious, dude. He literally is being soft. If I'm going to be honest, I'm so tired of people acting like he's done things that no one would ever see coming. People are acting like he's done the worst of the worst, and there's not even any fictional character that's done anything as hateful as Kendrick. And I feel like everyone thinks that, and it pisses me off, because that's not the case at all, dude. Kendrick isn't being hateful. He's being, like, how do I explain this? He's not being pessimistic about Drake. He's being realistic about Drake. That's what he's doing. He's bringing what's come to light. And of course, these are allegations, but there's much more proof that we can find from this than from others. And I actually, and many others, have trust in Kendrick Lamar, especially how he's a lyricist and how, he's more of a hip-hop guy, more part of the culture. There's so much evidence where I feel like, or things that you could consider evidence to put it together. And even if it's not wrong, still, at this moment, it's way easier to support him, especially because of everything you have. I could talk about this for hours, but I'm not going to get into it. And I feel like that's the thing, it's that's what I feel like Kendrick's point is. He's not here to hate on a rapper. He's here to get rid of a faker. That's what I think the whole point of the beef is. The beef, like some people say it's to catch a predator. I make that joke too, but it's not even to catch a predator. The beef is to just get rid of people that are just corrupted, or I guess you could say Drake's corrupted. I think that's what he's doing. He's doing this for us, the hip-hop community. He's like the hip-hop Jesus. I'm not like, that's what I think. I don't think he's being hateful, and I'm tired of people missing the point, because this is my opinion. I think that he's aware of these things, and I feel like, he's literally the epitome, in my opinion, the epitome of modern-day hip-hop. He gets it. He's the culture. He's from Compton. He's the hip hop guy, dude. In my opinion, he's a really good lyricist. I don't know, man. I like Kendrick Lamar for all these reasons, and I feel like Kendrick Lamar is also very wise, just like J. Cole. He knows what he's doing. Kendrick Lamar is also very competitive, and I feel like, yeah, I guess people are like can't really accept the fact that Kendrick isn't really hating. He's just telling us the truth. I don't really know. And I say accept the fact. Notice that? I just said it was a fact. Because when I was saying it, I think it's a fact too. And you know what? I admit, even I think that what is my opinions are facts. So that's a good example. To me, this is a fact. But to others, it probably isn't. So again, I could also be wrong. Doesn't mean I'm not pissed nonetheless. I still think they see things that I don't. And if I'm wrong in the end, I try to be as open as I can to fix it. I feel like others aren't. And again, if I'm wrong from that, that's okay, I'll fix it. We're getting off topic, but I feel like that's the thing with Kendrick. He's making an example out of Drake. An example of what not to be in hip-hop. That's what he's doing. The Kendrick Lamar versus Drake beef is basically it's not a hater versus a victim. It's not a murder. It's basically a teacher versus a bully. In my opinion, I guess. It's, or like maybe a like a soldier versus a bully. Someone that's noble, someone that gets it, that has experience, versus maybe not even a bully, versus probably the annoying popular kid. It's kind of just like the teacher versus, or like whatever. I don't even know how to say it. The annoying popular kid versus someone that's actually gets it. Someone that's fake, that's popular, for someone that knows their place. And I think that's the whole point of this beef. Think about it. Do you think Kendrick really tried to hate on Drake? No. I mean, yeah, it was shocking. He did it in ways that no one expected. Everyone's talking about how he's obviously want to hate him because he mentioned his family. And Meet the Grams, but I feel like no one even understands the point of Meet the Grams. He's not mentioning his family because to show how much he hates Drake. He's not mentioning his family to show how bad Drake is. He mentioning his family to literally do what Drake is doing. Because Drake is a faker. Drake doesn't know what he's doing. He's making an example of Drake. Drake is mentioning Kendrick's family. He's getting all deep into this asshole of rap beef that he just doesn't get. And the thing is that Kendrick knows way more about Drake than I guess Drake does. Whatever. This is from my opinion too. You know, Kendrick knows what he's doing. So Drake does this, Kendrick's gonna snap back and he's gonna give this truth. I feel like he could do many truths. He could give many truths if he really wanted to try to destroy Drake, and if he actually even really wanted to try to just show how bad Drake is, he'd talk about the X situation, but he's not. He's trying to do it in a friendly way, friendly, hateful way. You know what I mean? That's what I like about Kendrick Lamar. It's passive aggressive. He's making an example of Drake, of showing how hip hop works. This is a beef between a master MC versus some pop star. That's literally it. It's not rapper versus rapper. It's like, it's comparing like the Kane of the West Coast versus some guy in Toronto. It's literally what it is. And J. Cole was there. I don't know. This is my opinion. I feel like I like it because it feels poetic, because it kind of it kind of shows what hip hop is. It's like the beef. It's like I feel like this is a lesson we can learn from it, of like what hip hop is. And Drake, in my opinion, we say he's on the losing team. Of course, if it was Kendrick, whatever. We learn from the losers, and the winners are what we think are the winners. It doesn't matter. That's a lesson for another day. But still, like from what we learned, I feel like it's about how hip hop works. And if we know from how Drake lost, we know not to be like Drake, not because of like Drake being goofy, but because of how it's like he's trying to be someone he's not. That's the whole point. Think about it. Look at Euphoria. Listen to everything. Haven't you noticed that in Euphoria, he's talking about how Drake is just a faker in a mask. That's literally it. Okay, let's go to 616 in LA. He's warning him of how bad it would get if he gets any closer. Meet the Grams. He mocks him by talking about his family, doing the truths, doing the same thing that Drake does. I think he was prepared for this. Kendrick was definitely prepared for this. He knows what he's doing. And not like us, it's just the nail in the coffin. Just show, oh yeah, I know who you are. I'm going to keep going because you're going to keep going. You know, I'm running out of time. So, like, I'm not going to talk much about the Drake disses. Because, like, even though if they're good, again, it's pretty clear. It's putting someone that's there for fame versus someone that's there for art. That's why I respect it. This is why I like this beef, because it's like a lesson. It shows us what hip hop is. This is like something that we can remember for hip hop. This is an important moment in hip hop history because it should show future people that will be rappers of what and what not to do in hip hop. I think that is what the point of the beef is. The point of the Drake versus Kendrick beef isn't the hatred, isn't the families, isn't the goofiness versus the boogeyman. It's just how hip-hop is, what hip-hop is as a culture, and why you shouldn't fuck with it, why you shouldn't fake it. Alright, Goody Drew out. Good night, y'all.